Couple of minutes. And I guess we'll begin. Hello, everyone, and happy 2018. In light of the new year, we were inspired to create our webinar today with the theme of a new year, a new SOC. My name's Erin Swanson, and I'll be your moderator today for this record-breaking event. It's so well attended that we even have several of our competitors on the line today. So welcome. Just a quick review of our housekeeping items before we begin. As many of you may know, if you have questions, type them in on the right-hand area of the GoToWebinar platform that you can see on the box lower right-hand side, and we will address as many of your questions as time permits at the end. We are recording this session, and we'll send you an email containing the recording and the Prado demo links by Monday at the latest. And now I have the pleasure of introducing our speakers. Hailing from San Diego, Rick McElvoy is a security strategist for Carbon Black, who has more than 18 years experience in the industry. He's held positions in the U.S. Department of Defense and in several industries, including retail, insurance, entertainment, cloud computing, and higher education. As a U.S. Marine, Mr. McElvoy's work included physical security and counterterrorism services. And our second speaker is Rishi Bhargava. He's co-founder of Demisto. Prior to Demisto, Rishi was VP and General Manager of the Software-Defined Data Center Group at McAfee and services as an advisor to multiple startups in the Valley in India. So with that out of the way, we'll turn things over to you, Rick.
Thanks everybody for attending today. I'm really excited. You know, I think as I've kind of traveled the world over the last 2 years, one of the overwhelming themes that I've seen is what we're going to talk about today. So how do you take your typical SOC operations, or if you want to call it SOC operations 2.0, and take that to the next level? You know, I think at Carbon Black, we're very proud of our open APIs. We're very proud of our partnerships out in the industry. And so today, I'm super happy to be on with one of our orchestration partners, Demisto, and we're going to talk about how that works and get into the demo. So for me, as a defender and spending, you know, almost 20 years of my life on that side of the house, there's two key things, right? It's mean time to detect and mean time to respond. I think we track lots of metrics for what we do, but when it comes to actually disrupting the bad guys during their operations, those are the two that matter most to me. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Rishi, anything to add with that?
No, that's fantastic introduction, Rick, actually. And I think as you're going to see the presentation and the demo, the key pieces that we will highlight on the entire session and why we are partnering with Carbon Black is to basically accelerate both of those metrics that he pointed out, right? The mean time to detect, and then how fast can you respond? How consistently can you respond? So yeah, I think fantastic introduction, Rick.
Awesome. Next. Yeah, so you know, we're Carbon Black, right? Just as a real quick background, we've been around the industry 16 years. Started in the application whitelisting space and have subsequently delivered solutions as the market-leading EDR product that's out there. That would be CB Response, and of course our market-leading next-gen antivirus product, which is called CB Defense. So today we're going to talk about how those products play a role in creating a highly effective SOC. Next. And so I think one of the big things we have to do when it comes to thinking about SOC operations in the future and how we should move strategically to address the current threat landscape, we really have to think of SOCs differently. So it's pretty typical, and most of you out there that have built a SOC or are currently sitting in the middle of SOC operations, we deliver a number of functions, right? We deliver those for ourselves, we deliver those out to our customer bases internally, and then of course, to our customers externally as we protect their data. But those are going to include things like assessments, right? So whether those are risk-based assessments, whether those are vulnerability assessments, pen testing and red teaming, you're going to have a forensics function. You'll probably have a monitoring function as part of that, some sort of command and control function, an incident response function, and threat intelligence as a function. But I think when we get to talking about modern SOCs, right? So high-speed SOCs versus what we were doing, I think it's more important to start thinking of capabilities and not functions, right? So as you start to see the SOC as the center of an intelligence operations, you really start to look at that and you say, I'm going to need some pieces, right? So you're going to need people. I won't tell you technology will fix all of your problems. You're still going to need people. You should have machine-driven decisions that ultimately cull through these large data sets and land in the hands of analysts and engineers with the right context so that they can touch the incident and remediate it as fast as possible. You're going to need a threat intelligence. Now that's going to come from internal sources. That's also going to come from external sources, right? And so modern SOCs out there are really moving to become threat intelligence experts for their organizations, right? And that doesn't mean just turning on every single threat feed in the world. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then what you're going to need is some automation, right? So automation is going to give you a few things. It's going to give you continuity in your program, right? So as you start to automate these playbooks for various incidents that come in, it doesn't matter if your staff leaves, right? You now have decisions that are being made and responses that are occurring that are outside of humans. So as you onboard new people, you can continue your operations. As your senior folks leave, right, you'll be able to continue those operations, because that's another area, as I've been out talking to SOCs that are out there and CISOs that we're really struggling with, is that high rate of turnover. Next. So, the things that we can control, right? I can't control the attackers. I certainly can't control North Korea or the Russians or heck, even the Brazilians who have done a brilliant job getting into the ransomware market. I think today we're going to focus more on the process and technology than we will on the people. But I think I've alluded to that. You need good people. You need to keep them trained. You need to keep them staffed. It's great when you can provide platforms that you can train new people to, and they come in. And I think Demisto will talk a little bit about how they're enabling teams to get those playbooks automated faster. Next. So, we'll skip the people component for a minute, but I do want to talk about process because I think it's really important to talk about process before you get to automating all the things. The first thing I would say is document your processes, right? So if you have your teams out there doing things and they're repeating those actions, meaning this alert was generated and my team always does the same actions. Kind of my rule of thumb for my teams have been, if you do it the same way 5 times, that's a candidate to automate, because now you've seen that output 5 different times and it's the same, right? One of the things you want to think about with your processes is they're going to have to be flexible and they're going to have to be agile. So having a rapid feedback loop where you can change those processes based on other things that occur. Maybe your business changes. Maybe you've added a new organization, right? You've acquired someone. Maybe your threats change, and that's going to drive change in some of your process. Maybe your company acquires new technology, right? All of those things should allow for the teams to very agilely, very rapidly go in and change those processes. And then, of course, the technology components you need to support that need to be just as agile and flexible. So as you're starting to make these decisions and as you're starting to look at technology like Demisto, just ensure that that flexibility is built into the product. Next. So I love doing talks on automation. I do tons of talks on automation. I think oftentimes when we think of automation, we really think about an attacker did X or a piece of malware did X, and then I do something. I would tell you there are plenty of opportunities in your programs today to start automating. One of the areas that I was keenly interested in the last program I was running is reclaiming my team's time. So how much time were we spending opening various systems to go do incidents and closing those systems and logging in and creating tickets, right? Maybe you have an MSSP that's out there that's creating tickets for you. Those come in. Now you've got someone manually handling those. And so I really look at the entire life cycle of something and look for places to really automate, right? So assessments, looking at vulnerability automation and having your vulnerability system automatically create cases in your case management system. That would be awesome. That's a step that your team doesn't have to do. Response, there are a number of areas you can automate for response. Maybe in the simplest sense, if you detected something on the endpoint like Flash injected a DLL and then suddenly kicks off PowerShell, you should just move the block PowerShell, right? Because when is Flash ever going to just kick off psexec.exe, right? Remediation. There's tons of things we can do on remediation. Sometimes those include patching. I'm sure some of you, the folks in the audience are already doing that. Awesome. I would just say more, better, faster, and really start looking at how you're going to do that for your firmware as well. I think the end of 2017 kind of hammered us all with the hardware issues. Change management reviews, right? So teams spend a ton of times in those. To start automating anything below urgent and emergency requests. And then I think as you're looking at your tool automation, there's one-to-one, right? So Carbon Black has over 150 partners. That could be everything from submitting a sample to a sandbox, right? All the way to blocking and shunning ports on your firewalls, right? Then there's one-to-many, right? So looking at an integration like with a partner like Demisto, who sort of acts as that automation and orchestration hub and can reach out to various products and do all kinds of really interesting things, which they'll show you in a bit. And then really starting to converge your detection, prevention, logging, and response platforms, right? That's what that stuff's all going to drive. Next. Yeah, and then as you're making your technology considerations, right? Because you have to be very strategic about making this move. The first thing I would tell you, and I'm not the only one running around saying this, point solutions are dead. The largest organizations in the world are moving to a small, very manageable stack that their team knows like the back of their hand, can actually execute on. So what we've done as we've built out a control framework for prevention is we've added a lot of things. All of that thing is added management time. So you have analysts and engineers that are maintaining systems instead of actually stopping attacks, right? So we got to get back to that. So integrate, find partners that work as an ecosystem. The tools have to fit your team, right? So again, it's not all the tools all the time. It's the right tools at the right time, empowered, that then work to empower your people. And really, the technology is the component that should enable your people, your process, and your intelligence to actually deliver on those capabilities that we talked about earlier. Next.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rick. That was very insightful. And I think we're going to continue to talk about those pieces as we go through our demo as well. So team, we're going to continue talking some of the same elements as I introduced and covered a few slides about the Demisto solution and then jump actually into a live demo. So when we go meet joint customers with partners like Carbon Black, the common theme that we hear is it's becoming extremely hard to get a good set of team together to manage your SOC. But actually that challenge is not only restricted to finding the right set of talent. Sometimes you absolutely find the right set of talent by using the network, but then the challenge becomes, how do you train them? How do you retain them? And when challenges like those come in, this is where exactly the elements that Rick talked around process, a consistent process, having the same SOC processes be followed every time the same type of an incident hits your environment, that becomes very relevant, and we hear that quite common. And again, with the reiterating the same theme, which is effectively these challenges are towards one goal, one metric, which is how do you reduce the mean time to respond? How do you reduce the risk to the organization? Because if you think about it, if there is a detection that already happened in your environment, there's something bad going on, how do you respond to it the fastest you can, so that you can contain the problem, so that you can reduce the risk of exposure or more data being stolen? And that's the consistent set of challenges we hear. To look at those broad set of challenges which cross kind of the IR process side and also the lack of good skilled resource or training and maintaining the resource pool, we as Demisto think of this problem as a platform, right? So the solution provided includes a full case management. What does that mean? I mean, if you think about a process, even for a minute, forget about the technology integrations, the process of responding to an incident requires certain things. Like if it is a high severity incident which affects an exec system, then maybe it's a different team that handles. If the incident involves a public data breach where you need to notify authorities, then there needs to be a set of processes that need to be followed. Now, the escalation rules, tracking the right metrics, following the right processes requires a complete incident case management system, way above and beyond an IT ticketing system, which cannot give you the right segmentation and isolation pieces. The second element of the solution is automation and orchestration. So once you have some outline of a process, and we are not recommending that have like these long, big process documents. The idea is at least have an alignment of who handles what, who escalates what. Once you have all those pieces aligned, then comes automation orchestration, which is an integral piece. In some cases, you may want to have automation orchestration alongside of the process being developed. And we'll dig deeper into the automation orchestration piece in the coming slides, because that is the core of the discussion today. But the idea is, how do you increase the efficiency of your existing investments? How do you make sure that every tool in your environment is being used in the right spot at the right time? How do you make sure that these tools integrate with each other, the information flow happens appropriately? And if you have a threat feed, can you use that threat feed data along with the endpoint solution rich data coming in from Carbon Black and effectively create a ban rule back to your network side, or go create a ticket in your IT ticketing system like ServiceNow or Jira? And that is what automation is all about. And the third piece of the Demisto solution is collaboration and learning, making sure your analysts are in the center of the cycle. They are the ones getting the right decision support to make the decisions, making sure that they are learning from each other. They can learn from each other expertise. And not only learning from each other, making sure the system learns from their acts. And we're going to dig deeper there as well, but making sure if an analyst takes a certain type of action for a certain type of situation, can you suggest the other analyst to take the same action? Can you make sure that your processes improve? And this whole agile loop that Rick touched upon, is that agile loop there? Can you recommend the next set of books, next set of actions in the incident? And also, if you achieve all of these pieces, you're able to reduce the mean time to respond and the operational risk, as I mentioned earlier. So those are the core components. When you dig deeper on the product side, there are 4 core pieces, right? So one, automation. So Demisto out of the box has 150 plus automation integrations and almost close to 1,000 actions. So these are 150 different security products integrated with Demisto. The product ranges from the endpoint solutions, which is our focus today with Carbon Black here, but network firewalls, IPS, sandbox, and we're going to see in our use case quick touch upon with a wildfire sandbox and uploading a sample to that. Integrations with SIMs like Splunk, QRadar, and many others. A full integration list of our solutions is available on our website, but very, very rich integration, which are extensible by the partner and customers. You can modify those integrations, access those integrations. Second is incident management, and we did touch upon that. But an integral piece to highlight there is going above and beyond just the regular process tracking, the playbook tracking, assignment, to evidence collection. How do you make sure the evidence about an incident are kept properly, are journaled properly? How do you make sure you're following the right regulatory compliance mandates as you follow your incident response processes? The third piece being threat management, right? So as this incident data is coming in, collecting all the indicators, like if you see an IP address or a hash in 3 other incidents, can you correlate that? Can you quickly jump to the other incident and says, hey, where is this indicator found? Can you use that data for related incident and understanding? All of those pieces. And then the last piece is letting the analyst investigate, letting the analyst collaborate. If you have distributed SOC, one in US and one in Europe region, are you able to get those teams to work together? Is the system learning from them? And this is what the power of the Demisto platform is, which is bringing your entire SOC onto a single platform with integrations with your disparate tools, and being able to use the rich data coming in from Carbon Black Defense, Carbon Black Response, and leveraging that at the right time to solve to help analysts solve problems faster. Let's look at a little bit of aspect of this learning piece I mentioned, right? I mean, one of the core tenet of Demisto solution is leveraging every bit of data that comes into Demisto and learning from it. And learning could be as simple as who's the best analyst to actually assign this incident to. Based on the historical incidents that have been assigned, maybe one person is an expert in phishing incident, maybe another person is an expert in another type of incident. Learn that from every assignment. Learning from analyst action says this is your response action. Learning from analyst actions when they invite somebody else to be part of an investigation, saying who's the expert for this type of incident, and suggesting that. Each of these pieces become critical as you start to look at your incident management lifecycle and how the platform learns, becomes smarter, and helps the analyst back. So those are some of the pieces. In addition, I think one of the things that, again, Rick did touch upon is when you evaluate products in the security space, and I've been part of this industry for a very long time, do think about the openness. Does the product have a rich API? And I think this is one thing which we love about our partner integrations is leveraging the APIs that partners have. Carbon Black Response API is open, right? There is a GitHub repository. I mean, we developed the first integration without even interacting with the Carbon Black team. That's how the rich API exists. And we follow the same philosophy: open source integrations, open source automations, being completely open with our community on how these integrations work, community contributing integrations. We have a very large community, 2,600 analysts on our community. We would invite you again from our website and the community section. You guys can go sign up. It's nothing to do with whether you have a Demisto product or not. It's an incident response community. Come interact with them. And then as you get on the journey to an orchestration product, you learn a lot. You can contribute back to the community and learn from each other. So that's a little bit about the community. I think a lot of the feedbacks from past webinars has been, let's get into the meat, which is let's get to the demo. So that's what I'm going to jump into. Again, a reminder as I jump into the demo, have your questions coming in to the question section on the webinar. I already see a couple of questions flowing in there, but as we progress through the webinar, feel free to put your questions into the question section. And with that, I'm going to switch to a demo right here. All right, so in the demo, let me show you the basic concepts, and then we'll run through a live demo flow of an incident. As I mentioned, Demisto at the core integrates with 150 plus products across different categories. These categories include analytics SIM, authentication platforms, case management, endpoint solution, forensics and malware, and so on and so forth. Each of these integrations are right here and extremely easy to configure. Configuring an integration typically takes parameters like what's the server URL, port number, parameters like authentication, username, and password, and that's all it takes. No coding required to go build a new integration. We don't expect that you would have somebody on your team who knows how to code to go build an integration. If you do, and if there is an integration that is not out of the box, as I mentioned, the community aspect, you can absolutely build your own integration. We have an amazingly simple interface to build your integrations in Python or JavaScript, but really, really easy to build integration, provide the parameters on how you're going to connect to that partner product and write your actions. And we're going to see some of the actions that we have with the Carbon Black product. So let's actually see the Carbon Black products right here, right? So we have very, very deep integration with 3 different products from Carbon Black Defense, Carbon Black Enterprise Protect, and the Response. From a response actions perspective, very rich set of automation actions. And these automation actions, as we will see, are available in a visual playbook editor. So typically customers would go in and start to develop their playbooks from these actions. So numerous actions to go get details about an alert, block a hash, running a command, getting a binary, and we're going to use this in a live session right now. So without further ado, let's actually go into the Carbon Black hunting playbook, which is what we're going to walk through today. So this is the Carbon Black IOC hunt playbook. A very, very simple but powerful playbook. And the idea here is if you do get an alert from Carbon Black Defense, so the way we have set up this environment, we have integrated a Carbon Black Defense to go trigger an alert into Demisto. That alert, which would be a detection of some sort of a malware, would come in. We would go get details about the threat. We would get details about the device that this event happened on. Then we wanted to actually have another threat feed. So let's go check with VirusTotal and see what else do we know about it. Then we want to actually have a step which says search with Carbon Black Response if the same threat is present on other areas of my environment. Maybe there is a set of machines where you don't have Carbon Black Defense and you want to go search with Carbon Black Response that is this threat available, is this threat prevalent there or not? And then you can come back and check if this process is still active with the Carbon Black Defense. So we can get from that particular system that is compromised or the set of systems that are compromised, get details about all the running processes. Then you can actually get a real sample back and notice that this particular step in the playbook is not automated. And this, I made it in purpose, which we could have made it automated, but I'm going to show you how an analyst can actually interactively make decisions and collaborate with other people as well. So these are certain steps which we're going to run through as well as part of a playbook. So these workflows are extremely easy to build. So for example, let's say another step you would want right after here is to go create a Jira ticket, right? So we can say, hey, I want to go create a Jira ticket into my IT ticketing system. So you can say new incident found as the name, and maybe you want to take certain parameters like an incident name that exists right now and put that in here. So extremely easy. You kind of say, I want incident name to be one of the parameters there. Who do you want to assign it to? You can leave these optional, description, other pieces. And that's how easy. And we just created this Jira create issue block, which you can, in parallel to blocking the hash, just go create a Jira issue and then close the incident out. So editing these playbooks is extremely simple. And if you know the flow, it's like building a Visio, right? So this basically, you pick up a product, you pick up an action, and you build the flow out. So that's how easy it is. For our case, I'm not going to actually go create any Jira tickets or anything else. But what we are going to do is take this playbook and run this playbook live on an incident. So let's go ahead and trigger an incident into the Carbon Black defense system. So on the separate system, I'm going to actually go create a Carbon Black defense alert with a malware. And as you can see, the new alert on Carbon Black defense just came in. It says Carbon Black defense application explorer is potentially a rogue version. So this is an alert that came in. And if you see this alert, you can assign it to somebody, right? So interestingly, this alert says there are 3 people who it recommends to alert, either me, Bobby, or Bitmuncher is the nickname of this person. These are the 3 analysts that the system recommends you assign this type of alert based on the historical data. And this is part of the machine learning pieces, right? So simple pieces, which is start by helping who should you assign this to, right? So on the other side now, if you see, jump into the specific alert here. So just look at the summary. There are certain things that have happened. A playbook automatically ran, that playbook that we saw, and brought the information right here for the analyst automatically, right? So analyst can come and says, hey, what is the details here, right? When was this alert created? That's known. What were the bad indicators? So all the data that came in from that playbook, which is the threat information and other hashes and all other pieces, are already aggregated here. And it actually says that, hey, it's in 8 other incidents that this alert already exists in. A bunch of other details on the summary. But what you can do is, let's see how this playbook ran, because when you are in a real investigation, sometimes you want to quickly see what happened in these, right? What kind of information came back in to the system. So you can see the playbook, and this is the live run. This is a playbook run that happened based on that trigger of the incident. So here we are seeing the virus total step, right? So we went to virus total, collected very rich information about virus total, about this hash. When we look at this particular hash, we can actually go dig deeper and see where else this hash has found. What were the details about how many positives? So there were 21 positive detections and all of the other pieces. We actually even embed a link to this particular virus total report right here. So the other piece is, whenever we see indicators like a hash or a URL, we automatically correlate to all of the pieces. Now imagine as an analyst, you are in middle of an incident, lots of work to do. What we just gave you is, oh my God, this hash is in 7 other incidents. Maybe I should go look at them. Maybe I should talk to the person what's going on there. So right at your fingertips, not only the reputation, which was part of the automation step, but all the cross correlation where this alert, where this indicator exists is available. So very easy. The other pieces is searching the Carbon Black response. Where is this found? And this step basically got the information about all the details on the system, which endpoint. So it was found in 2 different endpoints. So it's not just that one alert that came in. There were 2 different systems which were compromised. So suddenly you figured out there is more than one system that was compromised. So you can go dig deeper on those environments. What is active on those systems? So now we are able to go get all the process details about that system. So here we went to that system and actually figured out more details, right? What processes are running, chrome.exe, so there's a Windows system, and SVC host is there, IE Explore, that was the compromised network. But the point is, very rich data about every aspect of what's going on in your environment on that particular node is available. So I'm at the stage which is analyst. As an analyst, I'm looking at it, good data. I know this looks like a bad based on all the information that has come in. and let me maybe go get the samples. This is where what we call a war room comes in handy, right? So from our product perspective, we are able to give you very rich information about the incident. This is all the information that happened about the incident ID, the details, the labels, all of those pieces. And maybe now what you want to do is you want to go chat with somebody. So you can actually say, hey, let me invite somebody to help me. As you can see, Dbot again suggests you that, hey, either invite Amir or Nilima because they're probably the experts on this type of incident. Let's actually use Nilima's help and says, hey, Nilima, can you help me with this incident, right? So this could be a pure collaboration room. I know you are probably at dinner this time because she's sitting in Europe. Oh, if I can only type probably at dinner this time. Looks like the B on my keyboard is missing. Probably at dinner this time, but take a look later, right? So this could become a collaboration place where you can leave notes. You can either do this or says, I'm going to say starting investigation, right? And I can say, I will fetch the sample and sandbox analysis. These are the things next I will do, right? So you can mark it as a note to highlight to the team what I'm starting to do. Hey, Nilima is responding from her mobile. We integrate with collaboration platforms like Slack, where she can just quickly respond from her mobile phone and says, yeah, got it, right? So this aspect of analyst being able to help from wherever they are is very important. So let's see what else, right? Now, me as an analyst, I want to fetch a sample. So maybe I want to use Carbon Black. So here, as you can see, there are certain other aspects of Dbot helping with other things. So Dbot says you maybe should get 80 user details of the user that's compromised here. So I can very easily say 80 get user details, go to 80. But for our sake, since we wanted to get the file from Carbon Black, I just say Carbon Black. I don't know what commands can I run with Carbon Black, but I see the list here. And I can say Carbon Black, get the file. So I can get the file, and I can get the file for this MD5, right? So we already saw the MD5s that were compromised right here. So let's quickly fetch our MD5 and get this file right there. So we go here at the bottom and let's fetch this file. And what we are doing now is in real time, I went to Carbon Black, fetched the file sample into a contained sandbox. So understand that this is not only proactive automation, this is actual investigation. You got a real file. I want to see what this file looks like. Sometimes maybe your team wants to look at the hex of this file. Oh, this is an MZ file. Does it load any DLLs? Let's see. I search for DLLs and it tells me what DLL it loads. So you can actually go ahead and start to investigate. Maybe you want to run strings on this file. So there are actions that are supported on this file that you can do. You can run strings. You can see, oh, it is actually doing a web services object provider. So this file is actually probably connecting to network. Written in Visual Basic, you can open this in a separate window and start to operate on it. So some very rich data. The obvious thing is this file is bad. What I need to do is mark it as a evidence and says malicious sample and move on, right? So what I want to do is maybe upload it to Wildfire to get even more rich data. So I'm going to say Wildfire upload and upload this file sample. So from right here, interactively. So this could have been an automated steps, but we are running these actions. We upload it to Wildfire. What do you want to do next? Maybe you want to get a Wildfire report. So you can continue to go do your investigations like this. But at the same time, the structured playbook sample says get the sample. So I can say mark completed, and I will say it's completed and got the sample from the Carbon Black system. I want to put in this note, mark this task as complete. And the next obvious task in our playbook, which I'm seeing this on the right side, is do we want to block the hashes? It's a good question. Looks like it's a bad file. The right thing to probably do is indeed block the hash. So I can say just yes, because if you remember, that was a condition in our playbook. I says, yes, I want to block the hashes, and say blocking the hash across the enterprise. And you block that hash and done. So at this point of time, I don't have any tasks. And if you see, the incident gets closed and everything is done. The obvious thing at this point of time is to, if I want to generate a report and send it to my manager, I can easily say, go generate a report, a PDF report of this entire investigation with all the actions, all the tasks, all the investigations, all of them. I can do that with ease. In the meantime, let's make sure that that action that we did on the Carbon Black system did return a block. So here you see, I switched to the Carbon Black interface. This is the band hash, which was blocked with the Carbon Black, with our automation product a few seconds ago. So that's how the entire flow from the beginning of an alert coming in, automation and triage, to an investigation, to a report generation. Now, such a report, and these reports are all customizable in a visual editor, contains the title, the type of alert incident, who worked on it, what was the playbook that was used, any of the data that came in, the investigation timeline, and each of the action and task that was completed, all my notes which I put in there, detailed evidence, because this was the malicious file that we found, so that was attached as an evidence. All of that is there, and then all tasks were completed, and there were 2 people part of the team who worked on this incident that helped. So the entire life cycle of an alert, from the point we receive an alert from a SIM or a Carbon Black defense, is here, all recorded, all available here. And in addition, from a reporting standpoint, you have aggregate reports and dashboard talking about mean time to resolution, SLAs, and each of these pieces. Now, the other aspect is, as you look at these alerts and incident, is learning over time of related incidents. So I'm going to take a different example in the last couple of minutes here. Is, let's say there is a phishing campaign going on. We collect the indicators across your environment and very quickly show you that this incident is related to these many other incidents. And this is the closest incident, which is 62% similar. And it's similar because of these hashes, of these IPs that are in the incident, all there. And these are the URLs which were there common as well. So very quickly, you can say, oh my God, I'm under attack across my organization because of similar indicators. And this is available across even the systems that we saw, right? For example, this was the alert that we were working on, which we closed. And if you look at the related incidents here, we'll quickly show you there are a bunch of related incidents that happened recently in time, how similar they are, what other aspects did they have, and this is an alert which was similar as well. So the similarity aspect helps you, again, jump to that incident, mark them as a duplicate. So this is pretty close. Once you review, maybe you want to say, yeah, there is a duplicate incident, and then you can close this incident as duplicate. So now you don't need to work on it. Your peers are not spending more time on it. So not only the aspect of investigating, but saving times across teams start to come in handy as we apply learning to use all the data in that system and start to correlate the indicators that are collected. So with that, I think in interest of time, we do want to save some time for questions that we might have and an effective wrap up. So let's jump to Q&A and go from there.
Well, thank you, Rishi and Rick, both of you, for that all that great information. Yeah, we're getting quite a few questions here.
Yes, so we can actually start with the set of questions here in the sequential order. So one of the questions is, as an MSSP, is there a possibility for a multi-tenant deployment of Demisto? Absolutely. We actually didn't get into the details today, but the entire system is multi-tenant. So the views that you saw are for a single tenant view, but you can have a master account, create new child tenant account, full segregation on data execution. We use state technologies like Docker to isolate execution for each tenant as well as each automation. So yes, fully MSSP ready solution available. And Rick, if you want to add, I believe Carbon Black is very MSSP friendly as well. So we'd love if you want to comment, Rick.
Yeah, we have options of all sizes, so it's your choice. But Carbon Black supports, with Carbon Black Defense, right? That's a cloud delivered product. Carbon Black Response is also cloud delivered or on-prem, so it's really up to you. But yeah, we have most of the large MSSPs out there using Carbon Black that way. So
cool.
Okay.
There are a couple of questions around integrations and where they could be found. So the integrations could be found either within our product page, as I showed on the settings, or you can check our integration list on our website in the partner section. There's a specific question around ServiceNow integration. We do support ServiceNow integration and Alien Vault, and yes, we do support consuming alerts from Alien Vault SIM as well via the email consumption. So those were a couple of other questions. Oh, this is a good question. Can I write additional actions for an existing integration? Absolutely. So the Demisto platform has a concept of an automation or an action, and you could write additional actions for the integrations very, very easily, both in Python and in JavaScript. So whatever your comfortable language is, you could do that, and you can actually get some of the sample code and integrations from our GitHub repository as well. Simple one, are the slides available for download? Yes, we will give the slides
on Monday, and the recording
will be delivered in the email for further sharing as well. There's some other questions I see.
Yeah, there's one for Rick here on if they ask you, do I need an AV solution along with Carbon Black Defense?
No, so it is fairly typical that when people buy Carbon Black Defense, they'll run it alongside current existing AV. I'm a little more on the defense side personally. I'm a little more like, hey, that's awesome. We went through the POC. Now let's prove it in the real world and let it run for a while, and then rip the solution out, because I think good security is trust but verify. That being said, we had a number of new customers last year. And I want to say the number is about 60% have actually, since they purchased, ripped out antivirus. So no, it's a certified AV replacement, and should act accordingly.
Okay,
cool.
And here's one for you, Rishi. They are asking, overall, like, how do I start a POC? What's the implementation time if we do decide to go with your solution? All that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question, guys. I think one of the things that we pride in saying is time to value being very, very low, right? So typically we do POCs with our customers after understanding the requirements. We actually have a free edition as well. If you guys want to start experiencing the product, we let you do a free edition, request it on the website. Our implementation types is actually very quick. When we are seeing our customers within a period of a week get up into production with a couple of playbooks live. Of course, as you saw, the playbook infrastructure is extremely easy visual editor, but extremely flexible. So you could start to integrate some complex scenarios going cross-product. We literally looked at 2 products today. In terms of the use case, we have customers who have integrated almost 15 to 20 products into the system with a couple of dozen playbooks, automating a large number of alerts. So you could start with ease and start with basic use cases and start to build your playbooks out, either free edition or contact us if you want us engaged on the POC. Either is available. Again, I think we are true believers in let the product speak for itself. So would welcome the opportunity to do a POC and free edition. And the implementation times you have seen is as short as a week to get up and running with simple use cases.
And while you were answering, Rishi, the follow-on question is just more about the playbooks. Do you have any that are out of the box, or do they have to create them all?
Yeah, no, I think a fantastic point. I did not touch on this, right? So we have close to 30 playbooks out of the box, which are of different types, right? Malware, phishing, ransomware playbooks. Some of them actually process playbooks, right? What should I do in case of a ransomware from a process perspective? Who in the organization is notified? So yes, there are a bunch of playbooks out of the box as well. Fantastic.
Yeah, and just as you guys can see on this slide, we do have some resources for you to follow up. You can go to the Demisto website as well as Carbon Black's to find these solution brief. This is where the integration is spelled out, all the features and benefits and use cases of Carbon Black and Demisto working together. As well as Carbon Black has their white paper on building a high-speed SOC, so please look for that on their homepage, as well as the slides. When you get them, you can click on those links. And also, we just have, we launched today our distribution rights for the latest Gartner SOAR report. And that is Gartner defining this new incident response space of security orchestration, automation, and response. And so look at that. It's a 17-page report on describes all of the various characteristics and things that you should look for as a SOC manager, a CISO, or a security analyst. We thought it was very helpful. And then once you receive that link to the report, in a couple of days, you'll also get a really cool infographic that shows exactly how Demisto maps to every one of those Gartner characteristics and the things to look for. So really cool 1-2 punch there with that.
Yeah, guys, I think it's actually, I'll close and let Rick comment, but it's the automation, as Rick started, is a new space. We are very excited that Gartner is putting together an evaluation / buying criteria kind of document on saying what you should consider in that space and how these pieces tie together. So worth a good read. I just, again, Rick, I would love to give you an opportunity to close out. It was fantastic, and it's been an amazing experience working with the Carbon Black team, especially with the powerful API that they have in their product. The entire experience, I can assure you, as customers and prospects you will have with integration such as this will be incredible.
Yeah, I think kind of in closing, if you had a couple of things to take away on the endpoints, drive the visibility, make sure your tools are collecting the right data so you can make the right detection and response decisions. The bad guys are automating and orchestration. So we have to move faster when it comes to orchestration. I can't stress that enough. Over the course of 2018 into 2019, these attacks are going to be becoming more frequent, more prevalent. And if your team isn't geared with a solution like Demisto to really sit in between all of the pieces of your security stack, you're going to constantly find yourself overworked, tired, and probably not effective at actually stopping the bad actors. So the time that we have as teams is the most precious thing we have. They're giving us more money. In a lot of cases, they've given us more staff and more technology, but we can't make the time up. So I can't stress enough, you know, as you're looking at your future plans, just consider that you're going to need an orchestration platform.
Awesome.
Yeah, Rick, Rishi, thank you both, and we look forward to continued successful working with you, Rick, at Carbon Black. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our listening audience. We appreciate everyone coming on board. It's a full house today. Look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Check back to our website often for future webinars.